any advice to Christian singles who want to be married?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a great thing. Marriage is awesome. I'm very thankful for my marriage. And I found a good wife, and I think I did it a biblical way. One of the shifts I went through as I became serious about my faith is to stop hunting for a relationship. I used to be on the hunt, like, oh, is she the one or she the one? Oh, I want to, flirt with this person to try to get her to like me or whatever. But I was really focused on trying to get the girl. And I instead of doing that, which always ended up just in stress and heartache, I was just always like anxious, does she like me or not like me or all this kind of stuff, plus just time consuming and mental consuming, all that negative stuff. I decided, as 1 Corinthians 7 encourages us to do, not to seek a wife or not to hunt after a wife. And instead, I just focused on becoming a more godly man. So I began to get serious. And when I say a godly man, not just being a better church attender, but to be someone who was, strong emotionally, someone who was joyful, and and lots of other things. And as I became a godly man, then that became attractive to other women. And thankfully, of course, it became attractive to Katie. And so, God worked in her life to lead her to me, but I didn't have to focus on trying to hunt her down or anything like that. God just brought attraction for each other to us, because she saw a godly man that she wanted to marry, and I saw a godly woman that I wanted to marry. So the first step is just focus on building your own character, your own relationship with God, to make yourself a more attractive person. And especially, and this kind of ties into the second part, to make yourself attractive to the right type of person. So the second type of thing, well, what kind of person should I look to be married to? And the most important thing is to seek out a godly spouse. There's lots of other things that are great to have in a spouse, common interests, to think each other's attractive, and you can go on and on and on. But none of those things are nearly as close as the quality of this person being godly and wanting to honor God and seek God and follow God. All the other things are fleeting. The Bible says, with looks, obviously that's, I think Katie's pretty. I'm attracted to Katie, but the Bible says that looks are fleeting. As she ages, there will be changes that she undergoes, and I'm sure because I love her, I'll still find her pretty and attractive and all this kind of stuff. But she'll change. I'll change. I've got some gray in my beard now, and so if Katie was just simply interested in my looks, then that would fade away. And so most more things, look for a godly a spouse, and then thirdly, I would say to see that marriage is about building a family, not simply just about self-actualization. So in other words, a lot of people get married because, I'll feel good, or I won't feel lonely, or things like that. I don't think that's a good motivation for marriage. Now that's a byproduct. I feel less lonely because I'm married to Katie, but I didn't get married to her to feel less lonely. I got married to her to build a godly family, to be a godly husband, and then to one day be a godly father to my kids. And so marriage isn't about me, it's about the family. And again, the byproduct though is I do get blessed, but that's not the purpose. And the final thing I would say that comes to mind is seek to get married soon. I think in our culture often people kind of think they have to really get established in their lives And then marriage is kind of like the ceiling, like, oh, I've built this life and this person's built this life, and now we cap it off with our marriage. But I would encourage you to see more like Christ is the foundation of your life, but right on top of him, is a godly spouse. And so, when Kate and I got married, she had just graduated college. I'd been out for a few years, but it wasn't, I didn't have a lot of fun. I was pretty poor the first few years out of college. And so from a financial standpoint, it wasn't the greatest decision. We weren't established. But we knew God had called us together. We wanted to build a godly family. And we've built a life together now. And that struggling together, especially through those first few years of life, has just brought so much admiration we have of each other, so much unity that we have of each other. And I can't even fathom, a life without Katie now, because it's not, it's not like we have our own lives that we could go back to. We centered around God are each other's life that we've built together. That makes sense.
So you say, mentioning 1 Corinthians 7, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. Paul says don't seek a wife, but then
Yep.
at the same time, we shouldn't just put it off indefinitely, to some
Right.
later point. So how do you think Christian singles could balance not being on the hunt, but
Right.
still being open to it at
Yeah.
some time?
Yeah, and that's a tricky balance to find. Because the other extreme, so being on the hunt is one extreme, right? And the other extreme, which may even be, and this might be in a generation thing. In my generation, and there's both in each generation. But in my generation for sure, everybody was on the hunt, everybody was stressed out. Actually, there are fewer people. I was just watching, The Social Dilemma. We were just talking about this on Netflix. Documentary on social media. And in your generation, fewer people are going out on dates or starting relationships or things like that. There's a lot of different reasons for that. But part of that is because we've created these substitutes for marriage, and social media being one of those, and that's what this is talking about. And so it's not good to just be holed up in your parents' basement through your 30s, unless God has called some people to celibacy, and so I don't want to discount that. That's a great gift. But there's a difference between celibacy as a gift and I'm just single because I'm just not
Sure.
building a life.
Sure.
I'm just being lazy or whatever. And so I think, so a good balance is found in the things I talked about, building yourself into a godly man or woman, but then also being in places where there are other godly singles that you're and you're not just trying to flirt with them all or whatever, but and this is how Katie and I kind of got married. We hung out a lot with a lot of other godly singles, and we got to know each other without having to hunt for each other. And in a lot of that shared activity, that wasn't romantic activity, we were able to observe each other. I could see, oh, well, she's a very caring person. She definitely loves God. And then if you know my story, the first time we went out, I told her I wanted to marry her. And obviously we got married because I already knew so much about her and she about me from just these things we did together as singles. So I do think you should a Christian single should be in a place where there are other Christian singles, and that can look different. It can be in your church. Obviously, I found Katie through my church, but there are other I know Christian single meetups. I've known some people who have met their spouse through that. But of course, if you're not on the lake, you're never going to catch any fish, right? So you have to be where people are at, but you don't have to be freaking out about it, nervous about it, anxious about it either.
Yeah, thanks.
Great question.